Hello everyone, welcome to today's podcast with me, Shelley Booth, your host. Today, I want to kick off by saying welcome firstly to the What Every Woman Wants podcast. And it really is what every woman wants. It's a world where we need inspiration, we need motivation, we need to be enthused, we need to know that things are possible. And that's exactly why I bring you various guests onto the podcast to have a really close, frank and humbling conversation. So today I want to welcome you to and introduce the incredible Fiona Logan. Now, Fiona is CEO of the famous Dundee company, which I'm hugely proud of, Insights. So welcome to the What Every Woman Wants podcast, Fiona. In you come.
Thank you, Shelley. Lovely to be here.
Great to have you. Fiona, I just want to pass straight over to you. I want you to just tell us a wee bit about who you are, what you do, and then we'll kick off.
Excellent. Oh, well, lovely to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me on, Shelley. And as you know, I find you and this podcast and the community of women in FLB and what you've created incredibly inspiring. So definitely lovely to have a chat today. So who am I? So I am a local lass, similar to yourself, grew up in the banks of the Tay, and had a sort of a career overseas and in different parts of the world, and have ended up back here and have the privilege and pleasure of running Insights Learning and Development, which is a business-to-business company that is one of the world's leading personal and professional development companies. So I love my job. I love that it's here, and but my kids are here now. Really pleased to be here and happy to help.
Brilliant. So this is where you're staying, Fiona, and this is where you've got your roots. This is where you're going to stay.
Yes, I think so.
You're not off skiing anywhere?
Well, I'm not planning on being off, but I'm also a big believer in, just seeing where life goes. I have never had a career plan as such. I still don't. And Insights is a global organization. I travel a lot. I'm very lucky. I travel a lot with my job, and you never know what opportunities are around the next corner, right? So never say never. But no, my roots are firmly here.
Great. A woman after my own heart. You just never know what's around the corner. I love that. Fiona, can I just ask you, just for everybody many people listening to this will know about Insights, but we have a global audience, so some people won't. Tell us a bit about the Insights as the company. Tell us what they do, who you are.
So we work to increase people's awareness of self and others through a personality profiling solution. And we work with large organizations to enhance teamwork and leadership. We do big programs across lots of different countries and with our customers. And it started all here in Dundee with a father and son in the late 90s, mid to late 90s. So we've been going for 35 years now. And the growth the company's experienced has been fantastic. And what else to say? I joined about 8 years ago, the first 3 of those as Chief Operating Officer, and the last 4.5, 5 years as Chief Executive Officer. So I also sit on the board of our holding company, as well as running Insights Learning and Development as well. So we have a team now of around 650, 700 people globally. When I joined the organization, the shareholders had done an amazing job of owning and managing the business to about 25, 30 million. And in the last sort of 5, 6, 7 years, we've grown that to, we'll close this year just shy of 90 million, and the profits also with an increasing operating profit, and we're a very profitable business. So yeah, it's our customers love us. We're more of a movement than a company. We talk a lot, of course, about people being at the heart of every organization. We really, really care about our customers, and we've got this opaque line between people who work for Insights and people who work as practitioners of Insights Discovery, which is our flagship offering. And the customer events we go to are just like huge big family gatherings. We've got this amazing feel about us as an organization. Our customers love us and we love them. and we're very, very much focused on people at the heart of company success.
That's absolutely brilliant. As a Dundonian, very proud Dundonian, I am hugely proud of what Insights have achieved. And obviously we've worked together in recent years, Fiona. I'm very much an advocate of everything that you do. And as we say here in Dundee, you're the woman in Insights. So you're managing 650 to 700 people. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's incredible. And that they're global. And
Yeah.
you're local. So see, from women to women here, and I know we're on a podcast here, but Fiona, you are a huge inspiration to me. You really are the ultimate role model. If I was looking for a female to come onto this podcast with that did inspire me, that's making waves in the world and doing it by supporting people to be the best they can be, you are the pinnacle of that. I absolutely love what you do and who you are. So it's great to have you on the podcast, but see, to have these chats with somebody that's doing the work that you're doing, everybody's got to be all over that. This is the kind of stuff we need to hear every day. You know, you're watching the news and all the doom and gloom. Stories like this are what we need to be hearing.
Yeah.
You're remarkable.
Well, back at you, Shelley. Thank you, but definitely back at you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So as I was saying there, Fiona for me is the ultimate role model. She's a cheerleader of women, a cheerleader. Put that bit out. Fiona is a cheerleader of women, a real supporter and an inspiration to many people. We've collaborated actually. Carol cut bits and bobs of this out, Fiona, so don't worry.
That's fine.
We have collaborated on my programme, Feel It Be, and Insights believe in their people that much that they actually were the instigators of creating a chain reaction and putting their people through Feel It Be and giving them the option. Look, here's what we're going to do for you. We've heard this programme is amazing. Our CEO, Fiona Logan's done it. She's saying it's amazing. How can we help our people become healthier? How can we invest in our people? And Insight's done that on a massive scale and gave the opportunity to all their women. That's incredible. See if every company done that. That would be amazing, Fiona, wouldn't it?
Well, we had this really interesting experience, as many organizations did during COVID, where we didn't know which way was up for the first 6 months. And as we gathered ourselves and worked out what our customers needed, and we really went into supreme listening mode to be there for our customers as much as we could be, we also internally needed to take care of ourselves, right? Because the juggle for a lot of carers, women and men, but everyone, carers became even more intense because you were battling around, you know, and I was one of those, one upstairs listening to a Teams call, the other one through in the other room listening to a Teams call, and then running through needing all sorts of school support, as well as, of course, the company being supportive. And you saw that happen across the globe, of course. But we sort of jumped onto a call with all of our team on a weekly basis, and I hosted that. We did a daily stand-up as a management team, just really forensically managed our way through, do this, and really got that customer information was coming really into the heart of the decision making. So it was really, sort of hierarchy was flat, and we just really got into it. But alongside that, the more we invested in our people and our people's well-being during that COVID period, or that pandemic period, the more initiatives, the more well-being initiatives. We did walking challenges, of course. FLB, Feel It Be, was a big part of that for our female population. Although we had the 5-day blitz, of course, as well, available for everyone. The more we did that, the more productivity increased. And there were periods where there was a bit of skepticism around working from home and keeping that flexibility of approach, and also the amount of investment we made into well-being. But literally we saw it back in absolute spades from our people. And so, I would encourage anyone running any organization, the more flexibility, the more interested and caring you are about the individual, the more you get back as an organization. And we're such a purpose-led organization. And we had that culture, and the founders did such a good job of getting all that in play from the get-go, that it really was transformational for us. So and Feel It Be was a big part of that.
That's great to hear. I mean, I remember years ago after I graduated, I worked with a few local banks in Newcastle, and it was working on combating absenteeism. And that was in my early days. I graduated when I was 21. So I'm now 44, and very early on in my career, I knew that if you looked after your people, productivity soared.
Yeah.
And that all comes back to how you eat. When you eat all the shit of the day, if you eat processed food, if you're drinking too much, if you're smoking, if you're vaping, you're going to feel terrible. And ultimately that's going to lead to you no want to go into work for a start, absenteeism, you're going to be demotivated. We all know that, but there's not many companies like Insights that will actually bite the bullet and invest in their people. So hats off to you. It's amazing to hear.
Oh, we had a couple of more than a couple. We had a really good number of real transformational stories within the organization, and an ability for women to share within the group that we had, but also within your community as well about that. And so for me to get the emails I got at the end of the program, and also to see it happening live time and through Facebook, it was just amazing. I mean, to be privileged enough to be able to put an initiative in place that has got such results was fantastic. And it's some of those the women now, of course, they've made changes in their lives. They talk about the implementation of that program as a pivotal moment for them.
That's incredible. That's great to hear. Back to you, Fiona. When you done Feel It Be, what were your main takeaways? Just your corporate hat off, and just you as a person. What were your main takeaways from Feel It Be?
Well, as you think, Shelley, I had been diagnosed with breast cancer when I was 47, and I'd gone through a real sort of learning, I guess, around how to prioritize my own health and time and well-being. And it had led me to do huge amounts of research. And I mean, I'm a bit of a data head, and I like the science. I love the science. But I also have a daughter with quite a significant learning disability, and I'm a single mum. So not surviving cancer was never an option. And so I was going to do everything I possibly could to make sure this didn't happen again, and that I was going to get through it as unscathed as I could. And I mean, mentally, that definitely took a toll. But I had, like I said, done so much research and had alighted on a whole number of both emotional, spiritual, and physical aids, if you like, on my journey. Yeah. So when one of my team had obviously, Marcus, and one of the HR team had become aware of your program and suggested we do it. It was a couple of ladies had come across it. I was in for a penny and for a pound, because it felt that at first look, everything you were saying was what I was doing, and had was what I had read about being the very best diet, and I think well-being, holistic, not just diet, but a holistic approach, mindset approach. So it really just rang so many bells for me. And I'm not going to lie, I did not find that first month easy. I'm not a big protein eater. I don't eat a lot of meat, so there was quite a lot of juggling to get myself sort of prepped. And I'm a convert to a green smoothie. So there was a bit of that in it, but maybe not as much as I had been doing. But even though I think on the whole I was in pretty good shape by that stage, it had been sort of a year or 2 years later, I think, after my diagnosis, I still felt amazing. It was transformational in terms of just, it was seeing and being supported by the community, and just seeing the interactions on the community that were so inspiring, and this whole idea of the holistic approach, Shelley. So that was my personal experience of it, and those tools are still in my life today. Amazing. So yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, we were just learning there that, Fiona, obviously you had a cancer diagnosis, you're a single mum, and you've come through all of that, and credit to you, and you're leading a world-class company. So again, reassuring that it's possible. Everything's possible. And I keep saying this to people that I see, my clients, my people, my own people, anything and everything is possible. And look at you. How do you feel? How do you feel in yourself today?
Brilliant. I mean, fantastic. I mean, it definitely helps when the weather's like it has been. What's not to love? I was swimming off your beach, ran along your beach yesterday, Shelley, and swimming at the ferry yesterday. The water was so cool, we're at our depth, and the water was so clear. No, as you know, I think partly I hold FLB personally responsible for getting me into wild swimming, because it was something I never thought I'd be able to do, and I absolutely love it. Sorry, Shelley, just give me a quick second. We can cut this bit out. Super. Hi, how are you? Yeah. You just asked me how I was feeling.
Yeah, how you're feeling actually in yourself now that you've overcome cancer, you've beat it. How do you feel?
Do you know what? Well, I feel great. And I have definitely adopted a lot of the mindset and spiritual and emotional teachings, if you like, of your program. But the reading I was doing, all sort of, there was a lot of symmetry there. I just, yeah, I've picked up a lot of the principles of FLB into my day-to-day life. So I feel absolutely great. The biggest, I think, every day is a school day for me, Shelley. As you know, I just love learning from others. I love hearing other people's stories, especially, people that you can identify with, and, storytelling, I think, is a wonderful way to learn. The biggest reflection for me was taking home the emotional stress and the kind of jobs I've had was a big deal. And I think I got that ability to sort of absorb other people's emotions because I care a lot. I'm very passionate about what I do. And I think I took a lot of that on. And I think one of the other perspectives that I have as a result of going through FLB, but also going through my sort of cancer journey, was not to do that. So I don't do that anymore. And that has been a habit I've had to really, really, really work at changing, because your instinct is to be that person that you've always been and care that much and absorb that much and take on that much and take on your own shoulders that much. And so not doing that, I still, obviously, I'm passionate. I absolutely love my job, and I love the team that I work for. But the more negative emotional aspects of it, some of the politics around it, some of the routines of the practices of these senior roles, I don't. I am always on a journey to just retain a perspective now, and not take it on in the same way I used to. And that's probably the biggest learning for me.
That's amazing. And sometimes, Fiona, unfortunately, it takes some sort of diagnosis or someone falling ill in the family or something happening before people actually go, shit, I need to sort myself out. I need to live for the moment. I need to be more grateful. And there's sometimes something happens to you and it absolutely makes you appreciate every day and create a positive spin on everything, but also separating work life, stress, not taking the stress home, like you've just said there. Stress is a massive one for so many of my clients, but so many people in the world. Can I ask you, Fiona, has there been instances in your career, and I'm sure you've had an incredible career, where you have been really stressed, and what did that look like for you?
Well, it definitely has. Probably in more recent roles than in the earlier roles, although I was always a very feisty, opinionated, independent, and probably a little bit outspoken female. So even in my early days of my career, I left university and went to work for a big corporate called Unilever, and I was lucky enough to work in England, but then the Netherlands, and then out down under in New Zealand. And I worked for this guy in New Zealand for about 2 or 3 years when I first sort of was getting established in my management journey, if you like, my management career. And you learn as much what to do from your role models and your inspiring people, but you also learn what not to do from people that you just don't always see eye to eye with. and bless him, it was probably nothing to do with him and everything to do with me wanting to kind of carve my way in the world. So there was moments of kind of stress associated with, I probably should have left that role and that boss a lot quicker. I sort of had this idea that you had to do your time at a certain level, and I sort of was going to keep my head down, and I did. And actually, looking back, I shouldn't have wasted the year or two that maybe I could have moved on sooner. But that led me into a role with Greenpeace internationally, and then back to IBM, and I'm a tech head, so I absolutely love technology, love technology. So I grew up really professionally with IBM, which was fantastic for me. So were there stresses? Yes, in those roles, absolutely, but probably the more the stuff you take home and that keeps you awake at night is when you're in leadership. For me, was when I was into leadership positions, running companies where you take the responsibility of having, 600 odd souls or more at your, they rely on your ability to have perspective and to make good decisions. Their livelihood relies on your ability. And I take that, and the duties that go with these roles. My last role was in the public sector. Of course, you're an accountable officer for public money. So there's another layer of responsibility around the good use of taxpayers' money and public spend. And I took those responsibilities really seriously. So I think it's finding this balance between the seriousness of that and then my ability to also keep some personal distance from the emotion that's involved with getting it all right all of the time. And I have, rightfully so, high standards, very high standards for myself and for others. And it being okay that they're appropriate and that you don't tip into having to be strong and be perfect all the time, because of course you never will be.
That's amazing. And do you know what's really great? And I listen to Simon Sinek, and I listen to yourselves and Marcus, and I've worked closely with Marcus as well. Obviously, I used to train him, and he was the person that spoke to you about what I done. And it's so reassuring to know that there's companies out there that actually care about your people. Like they care about their people. And Fiona, you're one of these people. So for anybody in the corporate world who thinks you're just a number, and a lot of companies you are, and I've worked at local authority level and various different programs, I think that's really, really common. But it's so reassuring to know that there's companies that actually take you as the person that you are and understand what life is and the stuff that you've got going on at home, for example. And you very much do that, and I hear that and I see that, and I think that's amazing, because that's what we need. And again, it leads to productivity, doesn't it? When people are happy at home in the workplace, then it's good for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I'm really interested in is finding a way to increase diversity in our boardrooms, whether that's our, non-executive boardrooms or our executive boardrooms, because, and that might be gender diversity, but it could be any kind of diversity, because I think it's only when we have those role models and only when we have those ecosystems in place around the processes of organizations to consciously, get rid of unconscious bias and promote diversity and understand that a different perspective than the one that we've always had is a good thing. It's only when we learn how to do that, and that there's a lot of skill needed in scaling ecosystems for diversity or infrastructure for diversity inside big organizations. There's a lot of companies doing it really, really well, and we're privileged with Insights because we tend to work with people who naturally do promote their people and promote the well-being and development of their people. And Insights is still a relatively small company, of course, but I'm a real student, and we can really learn from people out there who are scaling ways of doing diversity really, really well. And there's a lot of organizations now able to help support that in large corporates. So that's kind of, if I had a mission, I suppose that's kind of one of them.
That's brilliant. Just because you've touched on it, classroom to boardroom, young girls having the role models, having the female role models around them to actually have the confidence to put themselves forward and think that they have, rightly so, got a place at the table. What's your take on all of that, Fiona? From a girl's perspective, I feel it be a women's programme, but I think there is so much work to be done for everyone, but particularly for a wee girl in Dundee that goes to Braveview Academy. I went to Whitfield High School. It's now Braveview. What about that wee girl that doesn't think she can? What's your take on that?
Do you know, I do quite a bit of coaching and mentoring for, I've done reverse mentoring too, which is brilliant, where somebody who's just getting started in their career gives me advice about how to behave and how to do, and the inspiration you get from young people is just phenomenal, by the way. I've got two of my own constantly give me that feedback in my personal life, of course. You're not the chief exec of this family, I think may have been said a few times in this household, which just makes me absolutely belly laugh when I get it back. Love it, absolutely love it. Do you know, so I have this conversation a lot. I think confidence is made up of so many variable factors, right? From your upbringing to your experiences, to the role models that you've had, to the opportunities. I mean, I'm all about equality of opportunity, right? Equality of opportunity across the diverse spectrum of humanity is what we need to promote, because I fundamentally believe that boardrooms need to be more representative of the people they serve. That can be the communities the businesses serve, or the community within the business, of course. And all too often that is not the case. And do you know what? We've got work to do at Insights on that, just the same as every other organization. In terms of how, I often have a perspective that says we have all these ideas in our head about how we should be. So in order to be, and I get it a lot, of course, I'm sure you do too, that people have a perspective of you that when they're meeting you, they meet the role, and then you're not like they expect you to be. So we have that experience quite a lot. Oh, you're really nice.
Yeah, 100%.
Or, oh, you do care about your people, or that sort of territory. And I love that. I love being able to dismantle a little bit. But what I don't like about it is that the perspective is there, because we've too many role models who aren't, if you're good at business, you're not nice territory. And that's because we've had too many not nice at the top end of business, and too many, not enough caring, not enough compassion as organizations, for sure, and not enough focus on the communities that the organizations serve either. So I think for women to kind of try to live life on their own terms a little. So if I'd had £1 for every time somebody said to me, I couldn't do what you do, single mom, bringing up 2 kids, running a company like Insights. And to some degree, of course, the experiences that I have had through my life have given me the experience and the skills to do the job I do. But other people can go and access those. And I would, and whatever anybody else's path is, I would always encourage them to be curious, to always question, and to find it in themselves to do so. Because I think we have the opportunity, I think, as women in particular, to be a bit bolder about our needs. And do that, but you still have to deliver. So you have to deliver your outcomes. So do the job, deliver the outcomes, and get on with people that you work with, and inspire people that you work with, and be inspired by other people. So the listening gene and the ability to really work as part of a team, but deliver your outcomes. And after that, I think we should be able to have conversations about what work flexibility looks like, what caring flexibility looks like, how we want to spend time having different kinds of conversations in our teams. And so trying to encourage the self-ownership for that, as well as the responsibility for people like me to have infrastructure in place and processes in place to aid that, I think is really important.
Absolutely. I actually had a conversation with my clients last week, I think it was, and it was very much around the classroom to boardroom sort of concept, and I was encouraging women to step into their power. Once the power is realised and people get control of their lives, it really is a case of staying on course for utilising that power that you've got. And if you've got a place at that table, then you represent us and you go for it. You run with it. And that comes with everything that Feel Like Be is, but in terms of the mindset work, the daily mindset work that's required to get to that level, but actually sustain that level, is hugely important. But there's nothing that builds self-belief like achieving goals, like getting to the table, like self-worth is built around that table, but it's a sustenance, it's a sustainability that we need to present now, isn't it?
Yeah,
at that level.
And I think what's fascinating about what you're doing with this sort of holistic approach that you're taking with Feel Look Be is the fact that when we are looking after ourselves and we are being kind to ourselves, and we are then filling ourselves with good nutrients, which is obviously the food aspect of it, there is an empowerment in that. There is a self-esteem build in that. And then there's also the support that you get from the community, because it's not easy, right? It's not easy. I mean, our society is filled with very, very easy ways to eat real rubbish food, really easy ways to eat it constantly. And therefore, to make a different choice is hard. You're swimming against, and it was a real shame, but still, even in today's world where we know we could reduce hospital numbers left, right, and centre from healthy eating and exercise and lifestyle and mindset, we're not doing it. So yeah, I think there's a massive connection for me. And I'm fallible, my goodness, as a human being. I have definitely enjoy eating out and fine food, and I get obviously a lot of that when I'm traveling. But when I know myself, when I'm in flow with looking after myself, I feel an empowerment from that, and it really helps in all other aspects of my life.
Hugely powerful. It's so easy to be overweight. It's so easy to have lifestyle related ill health. It's so easy to be flat and demotivated. These are easy things. It's really hard, I suppose. And again, it's choosing your heart to put yourself under the caution and challenge what you eat, prep your food, actually move every day and commit to moving every day and commit to showing up for yourself every day. People see that as hard. But again, it's not until a diagnosis comes and actually prepping your food isn't quite so hard when you're faced with ill health, or prepping your food, moving more, thinking about how you spend your time in terms of what you think about, what you read, who you spend your time with. So these are all, like you say, a holistic approach to health and well-being, but it's not actually hard. It's just different.
Yes, and the support you get from others then is really is helpful, and that's why we did it from an insights point of view. It was one of a number of different wellbeing initiatives that we did, but it was really transformational for a lot of the women that did it, in that they also felt that degree of support for making some of those what are initially feel like hard choices, but are actually not once you get going with it all. So yeah.
Fiona, can I ask you, have you had any we'll say problems with menopausal symptoms, or feeling like I feel like I've lost my mojo, I don't feel myself? Have you had anything like that you could? There's a lot of listeners will relate to that, but I'm interested to see what you say.
Yeah, do you know, I can't could put a 5-point note between. I can't separate between what might be menopausal symptoms and are potentially exaggerated menopausal symptoms from being on tamoxifen. So I'm still on the cancer drug. I think it's 10 years, and I'm 4 or 5 years cancer free now. So that's as much as any of us can say we are cancer free now, which is amazing. And I'm really, really obviously hugely grateful to myself and to the universe for being here. But yes, I have absolutely struggled with hot flushes. I don't seem to have a gene that sends me to sleep anymore, so I'm literally never feel tired at night, but I'm exhausted every morning. I also notice I did go through a real period of migraines, a super awful period of migraines, and that is very connected to what I eat. So when I'm in flow and in a great place, those symptoms all abate. I have done a lot of blends, sort of living on blends for periods. I do detoxes and I do blends. Which is a wonderful way to get loads and loads of sort of injections of nutrients in for concentrated sort of fasting kind of or blend fasting sort of periods. And I'm saying blends, not juices, because they're always masses of the avocado, I think, is one of the best foods ever invented. So they all have avocado or bananas in them. Yeah, I have definitely been through the mill a little. I have a lot of colleagues who've experienced feelings of anxiety or depression, or have felt that they're stuck in a rut and they've got a pressing anxiety. I'm very lucky that I haven't experienced that personally, but I've got a lot of experience of others whom I support or who work for me, or are in my friendship groups, who have experienced some of that too. But yeah, mainly for me, like I said, bit of migraines, although definitely the last few years have really abated, which is great. But I still get the hot flushes, and sleep is just and I also think I don't have a metabolism anymore. I think my metabolism is absolutely flatlined, if I ever had one. And I've always been somebody that, puts on weight, loves food, put on weight at the drop of a hat, even though I'm very active, very sporty, as tennis, coach, golf, skiing, the whole works, wild swimming, running, etc. I think my metabolism left the building.
What's really reassuring of Fiona is the corporate landscape for understanding menopause, and
Oh, it's wonderful, much more
to the fore is really key for how we move forward as women in business and women corporate and non-corporate worlds. So that's really reassuring. And women now are getting more support than they ever have, and hopefully that agenda continues, and I'm sure it will. And I know it is in Insights, which is amazing to hear. Fiona, who are your role models in life?
I think,
if you've got any. I know I'm
I
putting you on.
do. No, I've got. I struggle sometimes in that I've got so many, and I've been really blessed in a way to have worked and had loads of different role models in my life, from my mum to my granny to my. I remember when I was much younger, I've always been, and still am, really attracted to people who are breaking molds and doing things differently and really pushing boundaries. And I think our friendship, right, is based on that too. Seeing what you've done has been just a joy to watch. I remember Anita Roddick, when I was little, this founder of the Body Shop, I've always been a big greenie environmentalist, and obviously she was really doing something, making a business and making accessible, products. And back in the day, that was pretty transformational. But I mean, even just with the passing of Tina Turner recently, that's people like Tina Turner. I mean, what a journey, and what an inspiration. I mean, I was seeing some of her performances as she was at your age now, at my age, 10 years older than me. Oh my goodness, the energy and the passion, the performance quality and all that. You just think amazing story of survival there. I suppose the other part of me, I'm quite a political creature, and I do have a particular respect for where female politicians, such a cutthroat, so easy to criticize politicians, and it's such a hard job that I don't think anybody really would ever enjoy being a politician. And so you've got to hand it to them for the care that they've got for their nation or their people, is obviously gets themselves over this hurdle. But in countries where females really don't enjoy the liberty that we've got here, you've got people like, Indira Gandhi or Benazir Bhutto. These kinds of people, I love their stories, because that's in such a different context to how we operate, and yet these guys have come through and done amazing and led in amazing ways. So I've got a whole host, I guess, Shelley, is what I'm saying. But just I love the fact that we've got many more role models than we used to as females, and I think we need more.
Definitely, I totally agree with you. But with the passing of Tina Turner, what a story she had, from the whole domestic violence stuff through to how big she took her career. What a woman. And actually, she's still and has been for years on my gym playlist. I love Tina Turner, so devastated to hear about that. But yes, role models are really important. Fiona, you're one of mine, by the way, just in case you didn't know.
Well,
on my list.
Back at you, as usual. Back at you, definitely. But it is, I mean, it's fantastic, isn't it? And I think in organizations too, or in our companies, however we work, just creating those stories of people who come from, a diverse background, who have done different things. What more could we do to lay paths for others to do that? And this, Madeleine Albright was oft quoted as saying, there's a special place in hell for women who don't support other women. There's this, and it's quite an edgy quote for sure. But you have to examine yourself all the time about, am I doing enough? to create the pathways for other women and other diverse people from diverse backgrounds to come through, because life is stacked. Definitely life is stacked against rather than for in some respects, and it is way better than it used to be, but we're still not there. We do not have equality of opportunity across diversity as we should, and as we will.
Definitely. Great, Fiona. Next question I've got for you is a question on probably what I call the mindset work, the daily mindset work that's required to get ahead, to create abundance, to actually work your way up the corporate ladder, if you choose to do so, is about visualization, manifestation, and affirmations, and if you use any or all.
I have at different times for different things.
Okay.
And then I have a sort of mindset go-to that has continued as a sort of permanent feature in my journey. I've always loved yoga, although I'm really, I'm stretchy, but I'm really not very strong. So I tend to fall over a lot. I push myself, but I've always loved yoga, and I've always loved the space that yoga creates, not just in your physicality, right, but also in your mind. And so my third eye, and also visualization and meditation around, linked to, tapping into higher beings and how we're all connected, all that stuff. So that's probably my go-to sort of body scan kind of territory. And I pulled on a lot of that and extended a lot of that, obviously, during my illness. Tapped into a bit of Reiki, and some other energy kind of works as well. At different periods where I've wanted or sought success in different aspects of my life, I've used sort of visualization and manifestation. Very early in my career, I worked with a chap, and then actually again later in my career, a chap that was connected to a company called Mind Store, which was all about visualization and manifestation. Actually, a chap based over in the west of Scotland. And Mind Store was all about building a house and manifesting what you wanted in your life. And I think it's a very good place to go in your mind in order to challenge yourself and ask yourself the hard questions about, so what do I need to do to achieve this? And then letting the intuitive brain take over to help create those realities for yourself. And we know our unconscious. I mean, we do a lot of that. We're based on Jungian philosophy, right? And psychology, sorry, and insights. And so a lot of that, get your unconscious to work on your behalf, and the conscious mind versus the unconscious mind, and how those two are really linked. So that's the basis of a lot of the work that we do at Insights. And they're really powerful tools. And recently, I mean, this about a couple of years ago now, I got into a lot of writing by this guy, Joe Dispenza. Have you ever come across Joe Dispenza? Yeah. And I just thought, sort of breaking the habit of being yourself, and some of his mind-bending energy work around, sort of generational research that he's done. There's so much more we just don't know, and we'll discover around how that all works.
Epigenetics is a huge area of interest for me. And I absolutely love Joe Dispenza's work, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Actually, I want to go on one of his retreats, and I will do as soon as I can, but I think you should as well.
I would come. Well, just you must let me know, because I have not managed to manifest going on one of his retreats yet, but I do.
Start doing it tonight, okay?
Super powerful. Super. You're on.
Brilliant. Claire, if you could slot this question into the question that I'd forgotten before, that'll be great. Fiona, do you think to climb the ladder, and I think it's probably a misconception, maybe with a lot of guys, maybe I'm wrong, and they'll correct me, I'm sure, but do you have to be aggressive? Do you have to be an alpha female to get ahead in the corporate world? Do you have to be one of these women that take no shit and don't really care about who they step on? What's your take on that?
I think that in some organizations and in some industries, that is much more the case than I have ever experienced in my career. I have definitely had to make decisions and do things that I have been very uncomfortable to do in order to get the right outcome for the majority of people and for an organization. There's no question that has happened. And I would not consider myself to be an aggressive or uncaring person. In fact, quite the opposite. If people thought I was like that, I would be very upset. And I think that by demonstrating an ability to make a difference and achieve outcomes and take care of the goals that we set ourselves in an organizational business context, but do that in a compassionate and caring way, and also in a way that inspires other people to help support you in those objectives, and want to do that and have fun doing it, and look after themselves at the same time, is something I have achieved in every role I've been in through sheer force of personality in some respects, because I'm a natural enthusiast, right? And that's it's wonderful when you then can share that with a team of people. I've always seen myself as part of teams rather than a leader of teams. But I do think, and I have come across situations even as recently as the last few years, where other women in other sectors would absolutely categorically say they have to hide parts of their personality in order to get on, because they have to fit in to a company culture that is unlike them. And I think over a long period, that is hard. It's a hard ask. And I also think it cuts off so much potential for that organization to be like that. But we all know that those organizations exist. Happily, not any I've ever been involved in. And I have had the pleasure to work for some really progressive men, and funnily enough, very progressive women, but also some very unprogressive women. But I don't think I've ever worked for an unprogressive man, except maybe that chap I spoke about in New Zealand when I first got out there.
That's again, what reassuring conversation to have with somebody at your level, to hear that back, because I am removed now somewhat from the corporate world. Probably less so now, very, very recently, having been in a position putting my own board together. But it's great to hear, Fiona. That's great. So would you say I'm an alpha female? This, because my listeners are going to want to hear this. How would you describe being on Field Look Be, bearing in mind it is a prescriptive program and by design has to be, to create this lasting change and initiate change? How would you describe me out with a friendship, just like professional?
So I think you strike a brilliant balance between being very purposeful, very driven, very ambitious, and yet very passionate about and caring of the people that you work with, your customers and or your friendships. So, I don't think it's a good or a bad thing to be labeled as an alpha female. It's a bad thing if what we mean is you're a ball-breaking, uncaring, uncompassionate, ungrateful person.
I think that's where the problem is. That's what people misunderstand.
But I think it's entirely okay to be driven and be ambitious and want better for yourself and for others, and do it in an inspiring, caring, compassionate, and creative way. So if that's what we mean by alpha female, go get them, right? Go get them. But if what we mean is the latter, then I think it's an unhelpful label.
All over that. That's absolutely brilliant. And actually, your words are warm, they're caring. I've received them. I love what you think, and it means something to me. So thank you so much for saying.
You're welcome.
What's the next steps for you?
What's the
next level?
What's the next level? We just rolled over a sort of strategic period where we kind of landed all these big, hairy, audacious goals that we had at the organization. We've kind of we're hitting a sort of valuation target that we had. It seemed inconceivable that we would 5 years ago when we set it, but we have, which is amazing. I I'm still as excited about the potential for Insights as an organization today as I was 8 years ago when I joined. And I'm also a believer that every chief exec has a shelf life, and that every organization is organic and it needs different people and different teams and different leadership at different times. And I definitely say to my team, when it's my time, and if I'm not realizing it, you need to give me some indication of that. Now, hopefully and gladly, that doesn't seem to have happened just yet, because I am as blooming passionate about it today as I was 8 years ago. The potential for this organization to be a positive force for good in the world is just tremendous. And we've set up an Insights Foundation. We're starting to get into some really interesting work internally around giving, but also around really scaling the work that we do in different ways. So our impact, measuring our impact rather than measuring our revenue or our profit, measuring our positive impact in the world. So I think this next phase is about how we blend the super achievement of scalable results from a commercial perspective with the impact, the positive impact that we will continue to have. And of course, at Insights, we're blessed because our product is really transformational for people, individuals and teams and organizations. So I work in the right business to do it. I love this part of the world. Absolutely. I mean, I love traveling. As you know, I've lived and worked all over the world. I hold 3 passports. I'm that person. But so I see still a lot of that for me. But I really have connected locally. I think COVID helped us sort of reconnect with place in a really interesting way. I mean, my wild swimming, I just feel blessed when I go into the water and feel immersed in nature and looking after nature and looking after this very special part of the world that we live in. Is going to be a big part of, probably my life for this next week period. And I am really interested in, of course, diversity as an agenda, Dundee as an agenda. Like, Dundee's a really fascinating growth itself just now, right? It's really thriving in different ways. So how and what is my role in helping be part of that and support that too? So give back to your community in a different way. So yeah, I'm very lucky to be in the position to be surrounded by people like yourself and other folks in our community, Shelley. To work with you guys over the next few years is going to be dead exciting.
It's incredible. It's a great story, Fiona. It really is, and it's awe-inspiring. So the work of Insights, a couple of last questions here. The work of Insights, Fiona, is obviously linked to, in terms of the personality profiles, and you associate personalities with colours. So for the people that don't know Insights work, what colours would you say I was?
Well, I think you've got plenty of fiery red in you, right? Which is our sort of a lead color energy that talks about drive and ambition and delivering results and getting forward momentum, right? So I think that for sure. We're of course all a blend of all our different color, we call them color energies, right? Which are personality traits that you have are more dominant or less dominant. So everybody's a beautiful mixture, a color blend of all of these things. I see a lot of sunshine yellow in you, a lot of below we call that below the sort of midline, the sort of feeling preference there in terms of your earth green energy around your purpose, around your care for others, around it being really, really, really an important driver for you, is that it makes a difference to people and you staying on purpose in that way. And I experience you in all your technicolor glory, and your sunshine yellow is your much more expressive self, right? And I see that in you hugely when you talk about, you're on your podcast here, you've got this really inspiring ability to be completely yourself. And I think a lot of women are really attracted to that authenticity that you represent. Like, it doesn't matter if you swear, it doesn't matter if you're, you failed at something and you get up again, or you talk about, and I like to think I'm in a small way a little bit similar in that I love a laugh at my own expense. I love a laugh at my own expense because we're all human, right? And that fallibility and that vulnerability and being confident, you're very confident of being able to show that, and it's dead engaging. It's really, really engaging for people. So loads and loads of that. I don't see so much of the analytic in you, which would be our cool blue energy, which is a thinking, reflective, kind of data, precise, No, don't see a lot of that in you, Shelley. So
Absolutely zero, zilch.
yeah, but there, so yeah, so a beautiful, so I don't know what color that paints you, but it's a beautiful collage of those things.
Brilliant, that's good. Fiona, is there anything that you would like to ask me, anything you want to chat about before we wrap this up?
I mean, I'm so inspired at how you're taking forward the different ways of being around the FLB program, but also your own journey, Shelley, in terms of thinking about how you're using, you know, the learning that you've had from your journey with FLB and the skills and experience that you've got now into doing things in a much, you know, in a more significant way, in different ways, I should say, while still being able to evolve the Feel Look Be program. So it's continuing to be able to help loads and loads of women. So it's just massively inspiring following your story and seeing how you're, but yeah, I'd be just dead interested to hear a bit from you about how excited you are about your own sort of next steps, because the future looks pretty bright from where I'm sitting for you.
That's a great question, Fiona. It's something that I am working on practically constantly. I do have time when I switch off and spend time with my nearest and dearest, obviously, but it's the next level, I think, for me, Fiona, is very much Feel Look Be should be in the lives of everybody. I genuinely believe it should be in the lives of everyone. And that's not to say that it's not for guys. When women come onto this program, the reason it was a women's program is because females take it back into their family homes and they create a chain reaction, and they set their families on a journey. But for me, the next stage is very much a healthcare route, and there is so much that I have still to do in this world to change healthcare, to change the way people actually, instead of putting a bandage and an elastoplast on something, actually get to the root cause of what's causing the problem. Because Feel Look Be demonstrates, it's created so much data that this works, and it works like nothing else. So I'm very much in the early stages of creating a board to take this to the world in my own way. I've got so many ideas about innovation, tech, utilising data, bringing that together to create a platform for good, and it's who I am. It's what I'm here for, and hugely committed to it. But getting the chance to speak to and work with and call people like you my friends, and people I can call on for advice, for inspiration, is very, very important to me. And Feel Look Be's caused that. Feel Look Be is the catalyst for that. Without Feel Look Be, I would never have met you. And it will always, Feel Look Be will always remain, regardless of what I do. It's a huge focus for me and my lifestyle group. They are essentially life, and they're what's, or sorry, they're what's helping people change their lives and transform them. And it's hugely exciting. So yeah, I don't know where this takes me, but I know it's something massive and it's something big, and I feel it. It's an energy, and I can't stop it, and I don't want to stop it.
Yeah. Well, it's I think what you're doing, the world needs, and I think who you are is resonating with many, many, many people. And I could not wish you more luck on your journey. You know, from me to you, heart, etc. Love it. So yeah, no, absolutely brilliant. And one last question is, what are the dogs from Thailand? What's happening there? Are you adopting?
Yes. So what happened was, on my stay in Thailand, Fiona, I regularly visit the Big Buddha. That is a very special place for me. And I get on my scooter when I finish training and I've done my day's work, and I go up the hill, and it's, couldn't tell you how high it was, but it's very, very steep. And on the road up, you see elephants. You're in a jungle. And actually, one day there was a female dog ran out, and her puppies followed her. And she ran out of the trees, the forest. And obviously, as a dog lover like you, pulled up my scooter, jumped off, and these puppies just ran up to me, and the mum was really, really friendly. And since that day, I fed them every day that I was there. I mean, I had trips and stuff away, but every day that I was there in the vicinity, I took fresh chicken up and I was feeding these dogs. Now, as you can imagine, how attached would you get to doing that? And these wee souls. And they knew the sound of the scooter, and they would run up to me and they'd smell the chicken, so they'd be circling the bike. And I just grew really, really close to them, and I knew what I was doing. I thought, how am I going to go home without these puppies? And there's two wee ones in particular, and actually one of them in particular was a wee soul, and I thought, is she going to make it? I'm not so sure. And these are street dogs.
Yeah.
So I got on the phone to a vet. I says, look, could you help me? I want to help these dogs. You don't know what their fate is in Thailand. And that's the worst thing about it. I don't know what's happening to these.
Yeah.
So they said, I want to bring, ideally, one of them, but I wouldn't want one of them to just do the journey on their own. Can I get two of them back to the UK? And she says, well, let me try and help you out. So right now, today, they're in a dog hotel. They're getting the best of care, the best of treatment. They're getting their blood tests. They're getting their doggy passports, and all the stuff's happening in the background, and they're able to come to the UK in August. How amazing.
Oh,
and
no.
high and hope. And yeah, I didn't foresee having 4 dogs. I'm a busy human being, but I love dogs. They're just incredible, and I base my life around them. They're amazing.
Yeah.
That's what's happening, Fiona. So
Fabulous.
you can meet them soon.
Oh, love it. So Honey and Bonnie are going to have to make a wee adjustment then.
They absolutely are. And my mum's too. She's got 2 dogs as well, and I've got them quite regularly. So it's going to be funny old times in this house. In fact, I'm getting conversions, and there's walls and everything getting ripped down here to make more room, because that's what we'll need, and a bit of an extension. So yeah, that's the story there, Fiona.
Excellent,
One
excellent.
lover to another, though. You get it, don't you?
Oh, totally, totally. You know, I'm loopy about my 2. Where if out with the dog walker just now, as I am in Teams meetings. But I'll be out with them on the fields tonight. Definitely, they're so good. They watch me swimming as well. They come down. They just sit at the shore and tracking me up and down. I keep thinking, would they jump in if I got whisked out on the current? And then I think, no, they probably wouldn't. They just wave from the shore.
Yeah.
Oh, fabulous.
Right, listen, Fiona, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. You're a very busy woman. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, as always, to speak to you. You're doing amazing things in the world. Just keep being you. That's it. Keep being you. You're amazing.
Thank you so much, Shelley. It's been a pleasure.
Take it easy. I'll see you soon, okay?
Okay, take care.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.